Another fine day, another wonderful day, another beautiful. We get together and we have conversations. We get together and we talk to people who are doing wonderful things in the community, people who are building, people who have built, people who have plans to do things that will impact our community. It excites me, especially when I meet him. I've known him now for close to 4 years, and every time we meet, the conversation is just wonderful because I get to learn, I get to unlearn, and I see myself moving from one place to another. Let me not start Chris, no, one place to another, because I see myself progressing. We all need to have people like that, and one of the things they will try to do for this platform and for make sure, see, if you know if you get access to, either because you know if you pay consultancy fee, or you know the person personally, or maybe a family member, or maybe a friend, or maybe play for some veteran club, then maybe to really, if you be in another one place, you want to always sit, and I feel if you always sit with you, talk, ask questions on your behalf, and then bring the conversations to you. Yeah, we were supposed to do a live today, but for some reason, however, I think someone will enjoy the conversation. Welcome to Toride News.
Thank you, Saku. Thank you, Toride. Always a pleasure to be here. And yeah, so I'll be ready for you.
Sometimes I'm tempted to want to ask you or tell us your name, where you're from, and what you do. But then I ask myself, see, for number how many times? Like, we've done this again and again and again and again and again. But you know, we always get people they win at the first time for watch. So for that reason, just tell me your names, where you're from, and what you do.
Sako, always I will never tell my name. Why? Because even the people the way they don't see me before, they don't forget me. Maybe, I mean, you need for, when you speak to people, you want them to understand who you are, what you do, where you're from. My name is Charles Njoya. I'm a CPA, I'm a certified tax strategist, and I help people with coaching. I coach people. So basically, what do we do? I run a company called CHN Advisors, and CHN Advisors is a tax and estate strategy firm. We are part of a group. That group is called CHN Group, and a group that has explosive ambitions. They want to do things. They want to help the community. They want to make a difference, and that's what we are excited to be doing. I come from Cameroon, that's where I come from. And yeah, so I'm excited always to speak to my people, because there might be just one little thing that they didn't know that they can learn from me.
You're always big community. You're always talking about my people.
Yes.
Who's that spirit come on?
That spirit come on now because we community people. We come from Cameroon. We are Africans. Africans are community people. When I grew up, there was no such thing as my cousin. We grew up in a house where everybody was my brother. And up to this day, I have cousins that it's hard for me to call them my cousin. When you call them cousins, it's as if you're distancing them. Even me, I belong to some groups with my family. I just hate it when somebody just says, oh, Charles, my cousin. Because that's not the way we're built. We're built as a community. We're built as a home. Everybody is your brother. And when you see something that you can give to your brother, it's always you do it with excitement. Because our excitement is in serving the community. It's in elevating one another. That's where we get our excitement. I
like what you just said now. So do you actually think if we work more, because that is one problem we have, right? Yes. We have all these values. We are supposed to continue with all values that we actually inherited from where we're coming from, but then we get to America and then we start, okay, no, this man is my cousin, this man is my father, this and that. Do you really think if we should continue in that state of mind, that community, that togetherness, it will help us become better as a community?
Absolutely. Let me tell you something, Sako. If you go closer to some of these different communities, like the Jews, you go closer to Chinese. These are people who have one child in the community. They build, until recently, they used to have just one child. And these people, when you go into their communities, they live like if they were one person. We come from a background where we grew up as a home, because 90% of us, we grew up depending on one another. We grew up depending on an uncle. We grew up depending on a cousin or somebody. And we never thought that we never had this difference. We come to America, and because of the economy, because of certain things, we start finding ourselves becoming cousins, and before you know it, it's just a friend. It's just, you start distancing yourself from another. The key to us developing, from my perspective, and from what I've learned, I've gotten to involved with so many members of different communities because of what I do. And in this space where we work, there's a lot of Jews who are in this space. And you see the way they do things. There are lots of people, there are lots of Americans. I mean, our thing, our power is in community. We cannot let it go. Let's stand in our community and build ourselves. I mean, I see a lot of things happening among Nigerians, among other peoples. We can do ourselves as community. We don't need to get entangled with what's happening in this community, in the place where we find ourselves. We come from a place, we have a culture. We have to uphold that culture.
Now, you are big on world building. You're always talking about building world.
Yes.
Why does that interest you?
Because I never had anything when I was a kid. I come from poverty, and many of us come from poverty. But let me tell you something. Money solves everything. Money. Money. It solves everything. I mean, there are times that people just take that word money. Money not to do this, money not to do that. Even the Bible says it. When you have the fact that we grew up wanting, and I have failed so many times. And I'll tell you this. When I grew up very quick. I grew up, first of all, I went through school, came out, I was always good in school. I came out, when I went through university, I came out from high school, I had my first failure. My first failure happened when I was dismissed from Lycée Boya in Form 5. That was a big failure for me. Yeah. I surmounted that failure.
Wow. The
second failure happened when I passed my GCE. I stayed home for 3 years. I didn't go to school.
Wow.
Like every other person had gone to school, I didn't go to school.
Wow.
That was my second failure. When I went to school, there was fire in me, fire to win. Because I knew where I come from. I knew that I came from a small community, and because of where I came from, I always had to fight the challenges to get to somewhere. When I went to university, we created an association. I championed an association that basically opened my life to the world. There was something we called the University of Boya Accounting Association. When we created that association, it was like nothing. We were the first batch of accounting students who studied in the University of Boya. And because of that association, we were able to have over 70 students have internship when we're graduating from university. And that's how I found myself in one of the largest accounting firms in the world, one of the big four, because of my dynamism, because of how hard I fought to make things happen. So I went in there. When I went into that firm, again, I was the first guy who came from studying in Cameroon, had never gone anywhere. In PwC, you found only people who had studied in Canada, in the US, in London, all these big schools, some from Harvard and all these things. I came there from the University of Boya. And the first thing you do is that you see all these guys and you feel like, I'm going to be drowned in this place. I had to fight another fight. Serious fight to make myself. And within 2 years of me being in PwC, of all the people that were in that firm, I was the first person that was selected from that firm to be sent to the UK for training. We were two of us. One was a former manager who was already former manager, so he's today a partner in PwC in Cameroon. He was a former manager, a manager who had studied in the UK, came back to Africa. I was the guy who had never seen the four walls of Europe. So I was picked out of nothing because of how hard I worked. So basically, when I got to the UK, let me tell you something.
I think I want to get into that UK story, but I want you first of all, because I really want us to talk about world building.
Yes.
It interests me because...
So world is about, you get so committed, you're thinking about what is that one thing that I've never had access to? You fight to make sure that generational curse ends. That's the reason I talk about wealth.
What do you think our community should be doing to actually get to that place where we are financially free?
They should learn. We should unlearn everything we've learned before, especially for those of us who are in another land. You have to unlearn everything you've learned before about building, about growing, about building wealth, and then start learning in a new community. Understand the community you're in. One of the biggest problems we have is because people have gotten out of an economy that has nothing to do with what we have in America. And then they want to take that mindset and bring it into this economy, and they think it's going to help them. It doesn't. It will not. In this economy is a capitalist economy, and the way you grow in this community is completely different. In Africa, we grow up knowing that you have to work very hard, save a lot of money, and then make sure that it's based on that savings that you're going to grow. I'm not saying that you shouldn't save, but you have to know why you save in this economy and how you take it to leverage. This is the largest economy that gives you access to other people's money. You want to take advantage of it. The second thing, you want to understand what is that thing in this economy that's going to give you access to that other people's money that builds wealth in this economy. If you can build that foundation based on those things that you need that will give you access to other people's money to build the wealth that you need in this economy, you've gotten the trajectory.
Thank you guys for that small break. I think that was wonderful first half. Now, you talked already about what we should be doing as a community to get to a far more better place.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the things you've noticed our people in the diaspora, especially in the US, are not doing?
I mean, let me start by saying what we're doing, because we have done so many great things in this economy, so many great things. You know, historically, what happened is that this economy used to come to Africa. This America used to come to Africa and then force us to come into this country as slaves. We came here and picked cotton, helped build this economy. That's what we did in the past. So at some point that had to end because of the forces of nature. It had to end because it was against the forces of nature by itself. So it ended, but this country needed to grow. So they had to look for other ways of making us still come to this country and do the same things that we were doing, but in another form. So now they had to devise another strategy. What do we do in order to make these people who are so strong, who are so powerful, who have the energy, who have helped us build this much, to continue doing this? Because people in this country, they didn't have many kids, they didn't have this, they don't have the energy, they don't have that. So they had to devise another structure. They had to look for ways of incentivizing us to come into this economy. So now they look for ways like DV, they tell you about the best schools in this country, they help you come, they give you scholarships to the best students to come to here because they have painted this economy to be the best economy in the world. And it is actually the best economy. So we are happy now to force ourselves to run into this economy. They come, they look for the brightest, they bring them here in the form of brain drain. They come, they look for the smartest, they bring them here in the form of DVs and things like that. And when we come here, what do? We learn. We learn through the normal traditional educational system. And what does it help us do? It helps us become the best employees. This system helps us become the best employees. We know how to do. We are the best accountants. We are the best physicians. We are the best this. We are the best that. We are the best that. So we get into that game. When you come here, you work so hard. We work so hard. If you take a stone and you throw it up in the community of Africans, it's going to fall on a surgeon. It's going to fall on a cardiologist, on an IT guru. It will fall on a CPA, on this. That tells you that we came and we did what we were supposed to do. We are extremely hard workers. That's number one. Number two, we get into a system where we are not taught how the system works. Most of us come here with one thing in mind. We want to make money. We want to make money. When people come here, I'm going to kill it, we're going to make money. And the process we make, for many of us to make the money, we are being told we get into a system where we are all employees of the system. We are employees of the system. Understanding money is not something that's taught in the secular education in America. Understanding how the system works. Capitalism is a completely different system from all the systems that we live in. So we come here with all that different mindset. We end up becoming those guys who are running after income. We run, we work, we're working hard. We're like the rich dad in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We are that guy who's highly educated. You're looking for a job that gives you job security. It's going to give you a retirement and then you retire happy. But you are forced into building a lot of debt by buying that your first home, buying this, doing all of those things. So you find yourself caught up in a rat race where the more money you make, the more taxes you're giving away, the more debt you're getting, and probably not the right debt. And before you know it, you're working to pay debt. You're working, somebody said it very clearly, that rich people work money to make more money. Poor people, or the highly educated people, they work money to pay bills. Most of the poor people, we get into that place where we're working money and paying bills. We get into that rat race. So our thing is, we have worked so hard to get in there, but we don't know how the system works. We have to educate ourselves on how the system works. And that's the one thing we don't have.
So who are we supposed to be talking to if we need to do?
We have to be talking to people who understand the system. Number one, you have to know what you're looking for. How does this system work? Let me tell you how the system works. And this is so important. This is a capitalist economy. And I say that all the time. People might think it's a broken record, but it's a reality. This is a capitalist system. A capitalist system is a system where the government owns nothing. The government really owns nothing. When a government owns nothing, in Africa we have, when you go to most of those countries, you go to any country, go to Russia, you'll see the national oil company. You'll see the national this. In America, there's no national oil company. The government doesn't own the land which we own. In our countries, when you own the land, you own your house, whatever is under the ground belongs to the government. Here, the government, when you own something, you own everything. The government doesn't intervene into your land. The government doesn't own land. They don't own the roads that we're moving on. The government doesn't own it. The government doesn't own real estate. How many people does the government employ? Very few people, because the only people that the government actually employs are the military and the few people who are working for the federal government. That's it. So the government doesn't own all what it needs for its economic growth. It doesn't own it. In other countries, go back to Africa. The government owns all the mineral resources. The government, go to the opposite of capitalism is something communism. Communism, when you go to a communist country, the government owns everything, and then it rations it to the people gradually, because the intent is that everybody should be equal. That's the intent. In America, we are living in a jungle. We are living in what you call a shark tank. It's a tank where it's a government for the people, by the people. The government really owns nothing, but it needs everything. So if the government owns nothing and it needs everything, how does it make those things happen? It has to incentivize people to do it. How do they incentivize people? With one thing, they make the rules, we play the game. The rules are all included in the tax code. The problem, that tax code, most people think that the tax code is there to make us pay taxes. The tax code is the #1 incentive tool for the government to make you become wealthy. That's the tax code. It is the #1 incentive tool to make you become wealthy. And let me explain. So the key here, the tax code is that thing that would incentivize you to do the things that the government wants you to do. That's why when any government comes to power in the United States, the first thing they're looking for is a tax code. How can we modify the tax code to match our agenda? When they are doing like elections, we're talking about elections now, everybody's looking at what is this person's tax strategy? What is this other person? Every business person is looking at that. The thing is, we do not understand that system. And what does that mean? It means that they will incentivize you and I to do those things that will help economy grow. And those things is like owning the seaport, owning the railroad, owning real estate, owning airports. I mean, there are so many, all these things are owned by the private sector in America. When you see all these private equity firms, all these venture capitalist firms, all these REIT firms, they are the ones who own all the skyscrapers you see in this country. They are the ones who build all the roads you see in this country. Even when they make a budget for infrastructure, they are basically incentivizing the private sector to come and take this, and then taxes will give them back the refund. That is called cost recovery. They recover through the tax system. So the tax system will basically incentivize you to do those things. And any one of these things, every one of these things we just talked about, when you own those assets, what are you? You're a wealthy man.
The question is, who are we supposed to be talking to if we need to have all of this education?
You want to talk to strategists? You want to talk to people? Because first of all, I want to tell you something. The people in this country who run,
go ahead.
The people who basically own the economy are the wealthy people, are the top 1%. They are the ones who appoint, who basically push those people to be in Washington who make all the laws. They are the ones sponsoring their campaigns. And when they sponsor their campaigns, they have to go and then follow their agenda. These people are called lobbyists. These people are the people who are sponsoring all the campaigns of all these people. And when these people go to power, in order to maintain, they do what these people want. And the educational system in this system is in such a way that they will not teach you all those things about understanding. So the people you want to talk to, you want to talk to strategists. You want to talk to coaches in those areas that you want to focus in. You want to look at, there are very few institutions that you can really go to learn these things. That's why strategists are very few. That's why there's something called family offices. They are almost non-existent. They belong to the top 1%. They belong to the largest families in America. They structure their families. They never pay taxes. Your wealth is in the tax code.
Now, if I was looking to talk to a strategist, what do you think as an individual I should be doing to prepare myself so when I get to talk to him, I should be ready for whatever he has to sell for me?
The #1 thing is education. You have to, basically, we are in the world now where everything is available online. Unfortunately, we go online to look at the wrong thing. If you go online and then you see a lady who is naked, you will see the number of views that are there in millions. And if you go online and you talk about what we're talking today, about 16 people have viewed, 10 people have viewed. That is the thing that we have in our economy. The system is so skewed that people are no longer looking for knowledge. People are contented. They believe that it is the status quo. When you want to look for information, when you want, your question was, what are the things that you're looking for? Yeah. You're basically looking for strategists. You go online.
So my question was, yes. What as an individual, what am I supposed to do to actually prepare myself before meeting the strategies? Okay. Because I feel like that is the challenge we have. We have so many strategies, not so many strategies. We have strategies in our community. Fact that people don't even identify with them as in, okay, these are the persons I'm supposed to listen to, because someone like you put out free videos every now and then, but then we don't see our community actually rushing for those videos. So for me, I feel like the failure is, first of all, not even knowing what to do. So how would you advise someone who is looking at talking to a strategist like you to prepare themselves?
The thing is, what would I tell people? I'll tell people, go out there and look for knowledge. Go out there and look for knowledge. And when you have to identify what the right knowledge is, you have to know what your right knowledge is. And when you want to speak to people, I'm available to speak to people. In my program, on my platform, you go on my website, I have my first hour of speaking to everybody is free. I say, book a free discovery call. How many people in our communities go there and book a free discovery call because they want to talk to you? Almost nothing. Nobody ever comes there. You people who come to 90% of the people who come who are on my platform are people who are of different community, because they understand the power, the need for that. One of the things that we don't know, the term advisory doesn't belong to it's not in our vocabulary. We don't know how to look for advisory services. We are so used to buying tangible assets. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a house. I want to buy my clothes, my Louis Vuitton bag. You buy all those things. But in terms of understanding what you should be buying to build wealth and things like that, if somebody was to tell you, oh, I'm a coach, I'm going to tell you certain things, and I have been trained, because you want to look at the background of the person. That's very important. The only reason I talk about these things is because I have background. I was a partner in one of the biggest firms in the world. I come from a background where I know how to help serve the top 1%. And what do you serve the top 1% with? You're serving them building wealth. And building wealth, when you're serving them how to build wealth, you're serving them, the first thing that comes on their plate is avoiding tax. I don't want to pay tax. That is what we did for how many years? For my 17 years at PwC and for the many years that I've been in private practice. So basically, we have to first of all understand that there's value in advisory, in reading books, there's value in trying to understand what the system is all about. That is what we should be looking for. Go to those things, read the books, go online. Online today, we are lucky that we have so much on the internet. But we are unfortunately skewed towards the wrong things on the internet.
Let's take another short break, and when we come back, I'll continue in my questions.
Yes.
Our life, they say, is full of a lot ups and downs. But one thing I don't learn for doing is surround yourself with people that every time you leave them, you feel blessed. And that is one thing we want to do on to really make sure every conversation is taking us from point A to point B. Point A to point B is something better. We don't want to go back anymore. We don't want to complain about our community anymore. We want to build. And that is why I try to sit and talk with people. That's one reason why I'll drive from Dallas to Houston just to sit and talk with him. You just talked about coach. And I know one word that is common in the community also is mentor. What is the difference between a coach and a mentor?
Okay, so coaches in this community are people who have gone through a particular process. They have gone through a particular process in a particular area, in a particular domain. So they are coaching you on how to move through that system. Okay, coach is basically your mentor. He's mentoring you to become to go through the processes that maybe he has done, or maybe he has studied how to teach people to get through. So we have coaches who have never really done what they have, but they have a process that you have to go through. And when you go through that process, it's a process that has been structured by people who already did it and won. So they put a structure in place for everyone who can follow that structure and win. I go through a lot of coaches. I mean, I will tell you, Every year, I spend not less than $70,000 in coaching. Every year.
Wow.
Every year. I have a coaching program. I mean, I will have like 3 coaching programs every year. I mean, I won't say I started it long year ago, but for the last 3 years, I've had coaches I've had some tremendous coaches. And for the last 2 years, my trajectory has completely changed. I can say that without any, and I know that within the next 3 to 5 years, this CHN group that you see will be something completely different. Wow. And that comes from my mentorship. I mean, I went through PwC for all those years. I understood how things are, but I didn't know the process. The power is in the process. And that's what a coach gives you. Process, how to get there.
What do you think we should look for when we try to pick a coach?
You look for somebody who has, who you want to aspire to be like. You look for somebody who has the process, who can give you the process that you're looking for in order to. Remember, I told you the power is in the process. One of the biggest things we've been doing at CHN for the last couple of months is just processes. I would say last month, our turnover actually went down because we spent a lot of time as a team putting in processes. Why? Because we understand that if we don't have that process, we cannot multiply. We quickly get to that place where we are kind of stuck. I spend my 24 hours sitting on my desk, working. People are calling me, I can't receive calls because I'm too busy. When you find yourself too busy, it means you don't have a process. You have to completely stop because you want to multiply yourself. We provide services. And when you provide services, you're selling time, and your time cannot be limited. You limit your time when you don't have a process. So the first thing you have to do is create a process where over the last few months, I've spent so much time in taking all what's here and putting in the system. Now my team, I have a team of about 13 people right now. Those 13 people, they can now do some of the things that I used to do. When they see a client come through, everybody has a step that just comes to him. They know exactly what to do because I have that in a process. In the past, all of them will wait for me to come and talk to them and do all the things. The power is in the process.
Free information, and because I know him, I don't be opportune for Shilong for year we make calls, and I know how much it used to charge people then for consultation for 1 hour. If you know what is good for you, listen to this video, watch this video again and again, get the best you can get from the video and implement it. I know it's what they talk. One day, if you decide to delete the video, go put down for Udemy, and then people start paying for watch them. So if you know it's good for you, listen and now, and make sure your friends also watch the video. He is CHN Advisors on all social media platforms, or Charles Njoya on all social media platforms. Njangi, good thing or bad thing?
Oh, great question. I say, Njangi, you're asking me a question to basically give you a black or white. I would say I will not give you a black or white, but I'll tell you what are the positives and negatives from a Njangi standpoint and how you can convert in Njangi. So, I mean, I would tell people all the time that you can start by playing in Njangi. It's not a problem for me. But if it becomes sustainable, it's a problem for me. I think there's a lot of all what we see today in terms of large banks, community banks and things like that. They started as Njangi. People brought monies together, they brought their resources together, and then they moved forward. I mean, the problem we have with Njangis in our community is that it never grows. Njangi is just a place where we put money, and then at the end of the month, we just share the money. If you can take Njangi and make it a community system where you are now creating some capital, where you can basically give it to people, like we have community credit unions and things like that, it becomes a very, very helpful thing because it's aimed at uplifting the community. When you create a credit union of Njangi, Njangis have created a lot of credit unions. So you can't say Njangi is bad. People just need to be able to think. Our thing is that our mindsets are always limited. So when we make Njangi, it's all about, let's put money together and then we distribute it at the end of the year. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help anybody. Because when you take money out of, especially in the United States, you're taking money out of the secular system, out of the proper system where you are able to be accounted for. You are able to see, there is something here that is called a credit system. Then when you take money out of that system and you put it in Njangi, it doesn't credit you in the system. So if you're doing that with the intent of converting that into a credit union where you can build something, that makes sense. But if you're just making Jangi where people put money at the end of the month, they take it and then they will buy you. You cannot take Jangi. You can take it maybe and put it as a down payment. But before you take it to put it as a down payment, it might have an impact on the business is going. So there are lots of good things about Jangi, but I just think there's a lot more you can do in the system. Jangi, if I put money in a Jangi, rather than putting in the Jangi, if I take that same money and I go and put it in an ETF, which is giving me 10%, Jangi will never give me a 10% return on investment. Jangi will not give me. But my ETF can give it to me. Or I can take that money, as put it as down payment, and I multiply it by 10 in the process, and I invest it in things. Jangi must have a purpose for me. Jangi must have a purpose. That's my only thing.
Building back home. Now, growing up, especially when we were coming to the United States,
yes,
the whole thing was go out the hustle, make the money, invest back home, especially build a house back home. What is your take on that?
Building a house back home is fine. I don't have a problem with it. I have a house back home. I'll build a house back home. That's for sure. I just don't have, I usually tell people that it's okay to go and build back home. But when you're thinking about investing, investing has to come with a return on investment. So when you come to me and you say you're investing, that it's a completely different ball game. I start looking at all the picture from a different angle, from all angles, because my whole goal is to give you a return on your investment. Think about this. I have two people who come to me. This guy has $300,000. That's about close to 200 billion CFA in Cameroon. He takes that money, goes with it and invests it in Cameroon, buys a hotel or maybe builds a hotel or builds a house, builds whatever, and starts renting it out. The other guy comes to me with $200,000, with $300,000, the same amount. Both of them are working in the United States. He comes here with $300,000 and gives it to me and says, Charles, this is $300,000. I want to invest. And then I start looking at the return on investment in Cameroon. Most people go and invest in Cameroon by emotion, because they want to be seen as doing something. They want to do this. It is great to do that. If you took that $300,000 for someone who's working here, and then you invested in the same real estate that you invested home, and then you invested here. Back home, you just bought a property for $300,000 because the system doesn't give you any loan to be able to do that. Now here, you can put that money as a down payment on the $3 million property. $3 million, that $300,000. If you qualify, you get a $3 million property on that $300,000. That $3 million property, the commercial property, you put it on Down Street, on Main Street, guess what? That particular property is going to give you cash flow. There are 4 sources of return on investment on real estate in the United States. Number 1, you're going to get tax savings on that investment. Huge. And this tax savings, our average is 100% return on your investment. 100. Because if you had a property for $3 million, you cost segregate it, and then you write it off on your taxes, I mean, depending on where you are, you get at least 100% return on your $300,000 that you put on investment. That's number 1. Yeah. Number 2, you're getting return on investment from what you call the appreciation of the asset. Remember, when you buy real estate in America, I'm talking about real estate. It could be any business. It could be a lot of other things. Equipment leasing, anything. You buy real estate in America, you put that real estate in there. Real estate grows at least 7%. That's the average over the last 30 years. 7% a year. That 7% is 7% on 3 million. You only had 300,000. 7% on 3 million is about how much? 10% will be about almost $200 and something thousand. You take that $200 and something thousand for a year, you divide by your investment of 300,000, that's about 80% return on investment. So it's now already 180%. Remember, the other one was more than 100%. This 180% return on investment. The third one is because it's an investment property, someone is paying down your mortgage. You are not the person paying down your mortgage. So there was that appreciation, there was the tax savings. The third one, that person is paying down your property. That person let's assume that you bought a property for $3 million. You just bought a property for $3 million. I mean, $3 million is not nothing. Think about it. That's almost 2 milliards in Cameroon, 2 billion worth of assets. That other guy went and planted his money in Cameroon. He's making money there. He doesn't know we'll talk about that. He doesn't know what the occupancy rate is. Even if he knows, you're making money in a local currency. Let's first talk about this guy. The third one that you get is that person is paying down your mortgage. Let's assume that your mortgage per year is paid down by $100,000, just $100,000 on that $3 million. Your mortgage, it's going down by $100,000. You take that $100,000 divided by your investment, which was $300,000. That's another 33% return on investment. That's now, it's almost 200 and something return on investment. Number 4, you have a cash flow. In America, when you are investing in real estate, there's something called the 1% rule. 1% rule means that your rental income on that asset should be 1% of the property value. So on that $3 million asset, your rents should be about $30,000 a month on that $3 million asset. So when you do that, you will see that the cash flow that you're getting on that property is a lot higher than the mortgage that is paying. So you're getting cash flow. So basically, you can end up having another maybe $10,000 that's coming from that property over your this. That's another return on investment. So all those four mean that you can now take the money from here, go and build that thing that you were building in Cameroon, just from the return that you're getting from this investment, and go and build that thing. It's okay to do that, but you don't do that as your primary source of income. When you have a source of income that is sustainable in the United States, now you can take the proceeds from there and go and do all your emotional things in Cameroon. Because the other guy, first of all, you're selling in a very, very crazy currency. You don't work in hard currency and carry the value to go and invest in share. Because what you have in Cameroon, you cannot take the CFA in Cameroon and spend it in Nigeria. It doesn't go through any banking system. The CFA never, as you go out, if you go out of the territory of Cameroon with any dime of a CFA, you cannot change it anywhere in the world. Nowhere in the world. Not even in France, who own the money. You cannot change it. So first of all, the money is illiquid. You cannot use that money. Secondly, between the US dollar and the CFA, what money has the likelihood of being devalued? Is it the dollar or the CFA?
The CFA.
The CFA can be devalued anytime. The day France just decide the CFA will be devalued. And there is every likelihood that within the next 5 years, that CFA is going to go away. So what are the impacts on your money? So what I'm saying is that we have to invest in our own currency, in our own community. But if you are investing in that community, for someone like me, who is fighting against poverty, that is my route to poverty. When I do that, first of all, our children, 90% of the children you're making here will not go back there. Yeah. So you're building that. Yes. So you want to think about all those things before you think about investing your money anywhere.
You know, yeah, now final. I told you the other day, like, it's especially with the fact that people back home are not even accountable. In the next 10, 15, 20 years, it will be difficult to see someone in America investing in Cameroon or even any other African country. Yes. It is, the more people learn, the more we get to knowledge like this, the more we are like, you know what? Because at the end of the day, there are so many things you can actually, like he said, invest your money in America and you just sit back and relax and you are sure. True or false? Absolutely. Let me tell you something. When you go and invest back in our countries, the system is such that you're always looking for a commissioner to come and help you. Yeah. Your asset protection is either a commissioner or one colonel or one procureur or one this. And the day that, that person, everybody, it's not about you are continuing. So all the money you are having, because you have to maintain them. You have to maintain them. Anytime, oh, monsieur, blah, 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 you have to send some money. Yeah. That is not the system in the United States. Yeah. You have asset protection. When I sit in my home, the president of the United States can, if he says something, I say, F you. I send him an F you. That is not the system in Cameroon. They can seize your property. I was looking at Nigeria. Let me talk about Nigeria. Because I work a lot in Nigeria and I've spent a lot of years in Nigeria. There was this famous landmark in Nigeria. It was called Landmark. Landmark in Nigeria was one of the biggest investments. That guy, it's called Landmark. It's inside Lagos. It was the largest attraction in the whole of West Africa, Landmark. You know what happened to Landmark? A few months ago, they decided, the economy, the politics decided that they wanted to build a road through that place. And Landmark was the only place somebody saw that we have to break Landmark. And they broke Landmark. And the guy who owns Landmark, just to recapture the land for Landmark, was $25 million. Just to recapture the land was $25 million. And when you go to Landmark, it is multi-billion asset that has been built there. But someone in politics decided that that was the only place they could smash and pass. And you know what? The guy who owns Landmark has been running behind them to even give him a little bit of money to compensate that. Up to today, nothing is happening. The same thing happens to this guy. Who is this guy? Think about Dangote. The problem Dangote is having in Nigeria today. Dangote has the largest refinery in Nigeria, in the world.
not in the world, in Africa.
In Africa.
He went and created this refinery that has a capacity to stop one of the biggest problems in Nigeria and the whole of West Africa for decades. He creates this place. He invested $25 million to build this thing in Nigeria. So once he finishes building that thing, the government of Nigeria say, we are not going to give you the license. That no, you are becoming a monopoly.
Yeah.
You are becoming a this. You are becoming a that. This guy has been frustrated. Nigeria, he's not able to get oil. Nigeria went and begged this guy, ArcelorMittal. They went and begged ArcelorMittal in India to come and build a refinery. Now a son of the soil builds the refinery, and then nobody wants to say no, they want to kill him. Now he needs to get oil to get crude oil for his refinery. He has to go and buy it in Brazil, in all other countries, whereas Nigeria has excess. So that's the system we are in.
Africa.
And if this can happen to the wealthiest black man, the most powerful black man, what about you?
What about you? Yeah.
Yes.
Man, these things is just complicated.
Yes.
How you look into the story this week? Yeah, so guys, go ahead and let us know what you think. If you have other topics you want him to address, because he said he's ready, he's loaded to actually unleash on our community to help our community grow, to help our community move forward. But it requires you also to let us know what you want to know. It requires you also to push. Sometimes the numbers are discouraging. If you guys should start pushing, at least encourage me also to drive from Dallas, sit with him, and we do live shows, and we just talk about these things and make sure our community is getting better. Now, one of the reasons why I started to really was for us to document people like him. For us to make sure, I know he has probably like 60, 70 years more to live, 100 at most. But what happens if he leaves without documenting all that knowledge? We start from scratch again. That is the difference for me between the developed world or developed countries and developing countries. In developed countries, people like Obama, people like Oprah and all of that, they already have everything about them documented. So a kid grows up and wants to become Obama, they have somewhere they can go to and read and learn and study and know things about Obama. But I'm sure if he doesn't write a book today, we're probably not going to know anything about him. What about the people like the Fon Muketes, the Nijon Fundis, the Endelis, all of these guys? Most of the things we know about them is from IASC, and then you know how IASC they know. The part they take and twist the own for your own kind of way. The man they take the way we hear as if we don't drunk. So let us do something. Let us push him. Let us push others to continue investing in our community. Knowledge is what will take us from where we are to where we want to be as a community. Any topic that we hope so we'll talk about until we bring her up.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I want to tell people, and I say, I was just telling a young lady that I saw, and I tell people all the time, I tell people that when we have the opportunity to come, to be in this country, it's an opportunity, regardless of how you think about it. You think about it as, oh, they are bringing us to do this, all of that. All of those things, we are coming to the land of the free. It's an opportunity land. When you come to this country as a young person, I always tell people, come and invest in yourself first. It's so important that you invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself and you get into that rat race where you start making $10 and sending all of it back home, because we have a lot of people who depend on us. And at times we come from a community, we are community people. Yeah. So we're always thinking about that person who's struggling. And those struggles never end. My thing is always, I tell people, when you come here, think about what you want to do. Invest and get into what you want to do. The system here, if you don't have the money to pay for education, the system will pay for your education. There is no reason why you're here, and then you're looking at somebody as if he fell from heaven because he's doing better, or maybe he's a surgeon, or this. You can be anything you want to become. It depends on you. It doesn't depend on anybody. There's no Superman in this land. Everybody comes to this land. Even if you get here at the age of 55, 60, you can still become whatever you want to be. And the most important thing is not how you begin, it's how you end. That's the most important thing. So if you're here, you just came here, and even if you've gone through and then you felt like, I have missed my path, maybe I want to recalibrate and start again. It is always nice. Go back, cancel everything and start again. This is an economy where you can always build yourself back and get to where you want to go.
What is that thing about you that makes you different, completely different from every other person who is doing what you do?
The first thing is I come from a community where I want to make that community different. I really believe that when I look at CHN Group, we've never looked at the vision of CHN Group. And when I look at CHN Group, I see CHN Advisors, CHN Financial, and CHN Medicals. What we've gone very far with advisors. We're moving with medicals because we're building, our group home is almost there. And then financial, we already started with financial and we had to hibernate it. But where this group is going, the one thing about me is that I believe that our community, we can basically, easily become the top 1% in this country. I believe that. And when I talk to people in our communities, I am always thinking about how can I elevate. It is hard for me to reject a client. Very difficult. When I think about every client, I can always allocate structure in a way that we are able to work. Because I believe that when I see value, I really want to harness that value. And it's not always about paying me the money, paying me all the money. I can structure it in every way so that we can work together. And why? Because I believe in the capacity of us. If we were to come together, we understand how the system works, we are all going to be in the top 1%. That is the power.
Where can they find you?
They can find me everywhere on social media. If you go to social media, you just type my name, Charles, you will see everything. As my employees, I'm open book. There is nothing that I believe that the only way you grow is with the people. The way we are structured in CHN, everybody in this team can see where we're going. Every day, every month we release our financials. Everybody knows what we have received, how much we have made, how much we're making, how much everybody can. I mean, people know that you can grow with the community. And I believe I am open book. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm open book and I just want to grow with everybody that comes along. So I am always on social media. You will know everything about me on social media. You go to my Facebook, you go to my Instagram, you go to my YouTube. On YouTube, I have long videos. We're pushing a lot of videos on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. We are all on there. So if you go on the website, you want to look for me, just go to my website, type chnadvisors.com. CHN, like Cat Hotel Nancy, advisors.com. You will see everything. You can contact me there. My phone number is there. You can get meetings with me there. And you get, again, you always get your first hour with me for free. So that first hour is for us to educate ourselves. I get to know you. I educate you on what you need. You talk to me about what you need, and then we can go from there.
Relax more. Now, the entertainment industry in Cameroon, are you following?
Absolutely.
Comedy, music. Absolutely. Which one you get more interested in?
Ooh, I like Caro.
Oh.
I like
Auntie
Felicia. I like people like, I mean, I love all these guys. I like what they're doing. I mean, and this is so important. I tell people, if you look at what's happening in Nigeria, for example, Nigerians have taken this thing called the entertainment industry by storm. And they have taken the social media platform by storm. Nigerians have built a lot of wealth from social media. We should learn how to build from social media. Many of us, just this community story, you know this lady they call Kim Kardashian and all people. Yeah. What did they make wealth from? Yeah. From just sitting and telling all the different stories that we have in Cameroon where we sit in our communities and we're talking the same. If you can convert what you do on a daily basis, I mean, you convert it and put it on social media for free, you don't have to pay nothing. The only thing you need is a phone. Yeah. Take pictures, put it on social media. Before you know it, people are following you. Before you know it, people are following you. Everything you do, people are looking at it. So it means that the search for money, access to money has become the easiest thing that there is out there. Access to money has become the easiest thing that there is out there. You just have to be determined that I want to make money. And then you look at what they want to do. Nigerians have become multi-millionaires just by making jokes. Making jokes in the court. We make our own jokes, they end in the. So I am so excited by people like all the Caro Copies, Aunties Felicia. There is this other guy who is, this short guy who always, I mean.
Paco.
I think it's Paco, the guy who's always wearing a cap like that, who's, I mean, he talks about, I mean, he has his own girlfriend and whatsoever, they're both of them. I mean, all these guys are amazing people. You go to the Francophone area, you have all these guys who are amazing. They're doing amazing stuff. And what is that? The reason I appreciate these people is because they came out of that hardship. They understood that they could use something and take advantage of the system. There is a system, there is a free flow. I mean, internet is there for everybody. Some people have decided to use it to make their lives better. Others have decided to lose it. I mean, others spend all their time watching others. Even when you're watching others, you can make money if you know how to do it. But people spend their time just watching others and smiling. while the other ones are working hard and making money.
Do you think it will be of their advantage if they start talking to people like you, strategists like you?
Absolutely. I think it's not only about me. It's people. There are so many people out there who understand how these systems work. I told people there's something that you call mega trends. When you are thinking about the world today, you have to be thinking, what are the mega trends? And those are, when you talk about a mega trend is that trend where that thing that is going to end the world if something's not done about it. There are two things that are the mega trends of today. Number one is IT. If you don't follow what's happening in IT, you're lost. You're going to disappear. You're going to go out. And remember what happened in the bulk of when we were getting into the year 2000? Almost everybody thought the world was going to end because the systems were not adapted to that. So what does that tell you? It tells you that IT, if you don't follow what's happening in IT as a community today, the world is going to go and leave you behind. And the world, this IT can end the world. The world can end because of problems around IT. And if you're not moving with that, that's why they call it a mega trend. The wealthiest people in the world, if you go and look at the wealthiest people, about half of them are in the IT space. They're all in the IT space. So what does that tell you? That the world is going IT. The second thing is renewable energy. When you think about renewables today, that is that one thing that, if anything, every country is investing in renewables. Every country. America is the king of renewables. Go to Africa. Everybody is trying to invest in renewables. Why? The world has been heavily dependent on energy coming from oil. Oil is a depletable resource. All those other things, all those minerals are depletable. They are going to get finished. So when you use those minerals, they don't rebuild. They finish. They get finished. They get depleted. So the world understands that if we are, and America, for example, is the largest consumer of energy by a mile to every other country in the world. So what does that tell you? That means that if America doesn't start looking at, if the world doesn't start looking at what is the world after this energy source, the world used the wars, all the wars in the world have been concentrated in the Middle East because of the oil. So the world has to change. We have to look for other sources. Today we're talking of renewable, we're talking of bio, we're talking of solar, we're talking of all these things. We're talking about them because the world will end if we don't think about those things. The world would end. God will not come to end the world. Those things, the day they get finished, the world ends. So those are two mega trends that people should always be looking at. That's why IT, the one that's closest to you, if you can hold it and work by it. Look at people like Elon Musk. Do you know why Musk is the richest person on earth? Because Musk's expenses come all in R&D for that mega trend. He's looking at renewable sources. All his thing is about electric cars. He's talking about spaceship. He's talking about space. All his expenses around what we call R&D. And R&D, almost every expense you put in R&D, the government pays you back. So the guy is building a business where he's making money and he doesn't have a cost.
Boss, we're already at 1 hour and I have one more question that I really want to ask you. I know this one you probably want to dodge it, you probably don't want to answer, but it's important because we are talking, you talked about Africa and every country in Africa investing in renewable energy. 2025 is elections here in Cameroon. Are you interested?
Absolutely interested. Absolutely. There is nothing about Cameroon that I'm not interested. I have an office in Cameroon. I opened an office in Cameroon because I'm interested in everything that... Cameroon is my land. And I want my children to have a root in Cameroon. So I am so interested in everything that happens to Cameroon, everything that happens to the United States, and next, everything that's happening in the world. I am very, very connected to what's happening. Yes.
What do you think our people, especially when it comes to election for 2025, what do you think our people should start considering if they are going to vote?
I just think that, the current regime has done their work. I think so. We should think about new energy. We have to start thinking about, we have to put new energy into Cameroon. I think Cameroon has been stifled. We've gotten to that point where, Biya has done the best he could do. And for so many years, when you do something for so many years, it becomes complacent. I'm not saying that I have anything, maybe I have my own issues against Biya for one or two reasons. But the reality is that after so many years, we need new energy. Everything needs rebirth. Because you cannot talk about change with the same person for 40, 50 years. You cannot do that. We need young people with young ideas and then let's accompany Paul Biya to go and rest. That's the most important thing, I think. And I would say this anywhere, anytime. Everybody has a time. Life by itself has a process. When you go through life, this man is an older person. Let's accompany him and say, thank you for all what you've done. Sit here and be what we call an advisor to the government. Sit here and be the guy who helps these young people to give them your ideas and let them move forward. Let someone else come and try.
Do you think a good successor can come from within the Biya community, the people he has worked with for so many years?
I think so, yes. I think so, yes. I mean, I don't mind where I just think that any other person would be a change. Any other person would be a change. And I'll tell you this. I mean, even if the successor of Paul Biya was his own kid, there would still be change. There would still be a change.
Yeah.
You know why? Because the young man will come with it. So remember when Paul Biya used to be a stooge for Ahijo. That same Paul Biya was a stooge for Ahijo. Everything Ahijo did, we knew that this guy did. This guy was the guy. He was the Mr. Sir, Mr. Sir, Mr. Sir. He did that for all the years. They ran the country together for all those years. The day Paul Ahijo disappeared, we saw the true colors of Paul Biya. And the first 10 years of Paul Biya were amazing. That's the truth. Paul Biya made certain things that he did certain things. Maybe I was young, I was not old enough to understand some of those things. But people, I mean, he shared money, he did so many things that happened in Cameroon. Yes, that's the truth. But what I'm saying, I'm not talking about policy or anything. The reality is that change should come in Cameroon. Change should come in Cameroon. It's a normal cycle. I don't have anything. This man, let's just accompany him, sit him somewhere and say, this is you are a state, you are an estate, you are this, you're that, you're that. But let him be the person to accompany that change. I want him to actually lead that process. Let him lead that process. Because if Biya is able to lead the process of change, Cameroon will become an incredible country because it will be a peaceful process. Now he has his clan and the other clans are fighting. I don't really see where there can be a win. People can win elections. But Cameroon, given the way the structure is, there has been so much opacity in the way things are, that it's so difficult for someone who's completely outside to come. You will have to kill people to make things happen.
I never thought growing up, I remember one of the first time when some Pope became Cameroon, they be carry inside some motor with like glass. They get out that motor, they ever should have. And do you know what I actually wished? Actually, I was like, I feel like one day they go carry Pope inside that kind of thing and then tour the whole country. So go even to villages, because people in David don't grow for Cameroon for more than 25 years. They never ever see president with that. So for me, I just feel like now the HDs where they get to make that thing, they get some good oxygen inside, maybe some small soya, small mimbo, small can. They even put some small thing they the masashi. But then you inside that glass motor, that glass house, they told we for all villages in.
I mean, I believe strongly. What you're saying is incredible because you want to show that thing where it will make people come together. We don't need to be broken again. We don't need to keep fighting and breaking. Let's forget about the past and try to build Cameroon. Let's try to build Cameroon. And it goes with Biya himself, deciding that, oh, I want to make something. I want to leave a legacy that people remember me for.
But
yes, that's my thought.
Do you think any person will want to invest in Cameroon knowing fully well that the regime in place, they predict peace, they predict...
Not at this time, no. That's just a normal phenomenon. When you're assessing a market, the first thing that comes to play is politics. What's the stability of the country? If a country is not stable, how do you go and invest? Nobody wants to put money in somewhere where they don't where there's no stability. Yeah. So on purely normal basis, without being biased, nobody will put his money in Cameroon right now.
We'll end the conversation for you, and we'll schedule another interview, and I think we'll talk about some of these things that we're talking now. For more than 7 years, Northwest and Southwest, we'll go through something where, if I imagine how much we people then for diaspora don't invest for that part of the country, I dey cry. If we don't want to stop them, if we don't want to limit them, want to allow people to go back. The last years, at least it don't really slow down all of that. We see how people go back now. Every year we get about 2,000, 3,000 people that go back. And then they go invest. Imagine, say, 3,000 Cameroonians go back for North, and that 3,000 Cameroonians, each person go spend, say 2,000, 3,000.
Yes.
Now, how much money that?
Yes.
we dey pump am for country.
Yes.
When I think about that, na the small way I've get am for today. Follow him on all social media platforms. So CHN Advisors or Charles Njoya. Thank you. Behind the camera is my boss.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.